Welcome to the replay viewers. Welcome to the live broadcast. This is Janice Temple, founder of World Black History on Periscope. Let me turn this. And today we are at the African Burying Ground. Hi, Wusa Thoughts. We're at the African Burying Ground in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Hi, Animate Peace. Hello, how are you guys? Thanks for the hearts. I'm going to show you around in a minute. And this burying ground is in honor of those forgotten. I stand for the ancestors here and beyond. I stand for those who feel anger. I stand for those who were treated unjustly. I stand for those who were taken from their loved ones. I stand for those who suffered the Middle Passage. I stand for those who survived upon these shores. I stand for those who pay homage to this ground. I stand for those who find dignity in these bones. Jerome Meadows, artist and sculptor. And so share this out. I'm going to show you the memorial here. So this is a court. We're going to go over here. Thanks for the hearts, guys. Please share, please share. So this is the African Burying Ground Memorial in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And this is the front of it. Thanks for sharing and inviting followers with some thoughts. So this is the front of it. Take you around to the other side. If you want, you guys can get a screenshot. Did you screenshot it? Okay, I'm going to take you around to the other side now of the memorial. And there's a woman on this side. And that's the female. And there's a pathway. And so I'm going to take you to the words here. It says, natives of Africa now forcibly detained in slavery. In said state, most humbly sheweth that the God of nature gave them life and freedom upon the terms of the most perfect equality with other men. We fondly hope that the eye of pity and the heart of justice and humanity may commiserate our situation and put upon the equality of free men and give us an opportunity of evincing to the world. And then over here, there's a monument. And it says again, I stand for the ancestors here and beyond. I stand for those who feel anger. I stand for those who were treated unjustly. I stand for those who were taken from their loved ones. I stand for those who suffered the Middle Passage. I stand for those who survived upon these shores. I stand for those who pay homage to this ground. I stand for those who find dignity in these bones. Jerome Meadows, artist and sculptor. The entry figures. The male figure stands for the first enslaved Africans brought to Portsmouth and those who followed. The female figure represents Mother Africa, endlessly straining past the obstacles that keep her from her children of the diaspora. Together, as each figure reaches around the edge of the granite slab towards the other, they physically embody the separation and uncertainty experienced by those brought here as captives, as well as their perseverance. The gap between their fingertips, I have to go on the side, is a reminder of their forced separation and the divisions of the past injustice. The petition line. In 1779, 20 men who had been forcibly brought from West Africa when they were children and were purchased by prominent local families petitioned the New Hampshire legislature for their freedom and for an end to slavery in the state. Quoting phrases from this petition for freedom, the petition line is a visual and historical thread linking the elements of the memorial and putting eloquent voice to those so long forgotten and ignored. Extending from the entry figures through a space of contemplation, the line disappears into the burial vault beneath the plaza. The West African symbol adorning this line is the Neskroma, that means child of the heavens, and is an icon of guardianship. Okay, so that's an icon of guardianship. That is the Neskroma. Burial vault lid. The Adinka figure Sankofa, meaning return and get it, learn from the past, forms a shield and cover for the burial vault containing the reinterred remains of those exhumed in 2003 and additional partial remains found at the site during preparations for the memorial. Community figures. These life-size brown silhouettes represent the community of the greater Portsmouth gathered with resolve to acknowledge, protect, and pay homage to the souls of those remains uncovered in 2003. Each figure bears a line from the poem by memorial designer and sculptor Jerome Meadows, inspired by this sacred place. Decorative railing. The design is based on the African kente cloth motif suggested of boat paddles. The ceramic tiles embedded in the railing were created by students from Portsmouth's public schools. By forming the tiles, these school children link hands with past children who worked here and future generations who will stop to remember and stand for those forgotten. We stand in honor of those forgotten. This memorial was created by the people of Portsmouth. Those buried here are not part of Black history or white history. This is our collective history. The symbol chosen to represent the solemn intent of this African burial ground memorial and its close historical connection to West Africa is the distinctive Sankofa symbol from the Akan people of Ghana. For those Africans forcibly removed from their homeland to be enslaved in America. And for those of us reflecting on that history now, we take the Sankofa and its timeless meaning to heart. Return and get it, learn from the past. The first known enslaved African, a man from Guinea, arrived in Portsmouth in 1645. He was among hundreds of African captives to live in slavery in New Hampshire. Throughout the colonial area, New Hampshire's affluent port town had the largest number of slaves in the colony, up to 4% of the population recorded in the census of 1767. By 1810, few, if any, people of African ancestry were still enslaved in Portsmouth. Although early town records and other public documents made reference to the Negro Burying Ground, the memory of the African burying ground and its occupants, which may number over 200, faded as the decades passed. The burying ground was built over and nearly forgotten until October 7, 2003, when a work crew unexpectedly exposed deteriorating wooden coffins containing human remains. Forensic archaeology and DNA analysis confirmed the individuals exhumed as African. Portsmouth began a community discussion about this historic and sensitive site and determined that the space should be restored to sacred ground. The process to create a memorial and to reinterr the disturbed remains began. In the spring of 2015, the remains were reinterred in the burial vault that is the focal point of the memorial. The Portsmouth African Burying Ground Memorial stands for those who were forgotten. This burial site acknowledged their humanity and ours. Excuse me. With design elements chosen in a series of the community dialogues about the past, present, and future. This memorial provides an opportunity to look back and reflect on the history shared with those buried here. In a space whose extent is not fully defined, although their identities are not known, their presence beneath our feet urges us to recognize them and others forgotten as individuals with stories that come alive as we look back and remember. What we're going to look at. Our love and freedom by exerting ourselves in cause in opposing the efforts of tyranny and oppression over the country in which we ourselves have been so long injuriously enslaved. Private or public, tyranny and slavery are alike detestable to the minds. Conscious of equal dignity of human nature, that the name of slave may not more be heard in a land gloriously contending for the sweets of freedom. And this is the African burial ground right here. And those are that's the Sankofa, means return to the past. And then there's the kente cloth symbol. That's the Sankofa symbol. And then these are the images here. The silhouettes. The first one says, I stand for ancestors here and beyond. I stand for those who feel anger. I stand for those who were treated unjustly. I stand for those who were taken from their loved ones. I stand for those who suffered the Middle Passage.
Hey, what's up?
I stand for those who survived upon these shores. I stand for those who pay homage to this ground. I stand for those who find dignity in these bones. And then over here, that's the Sankofa symbol as well. It says the first black person recorded in Portsmouth history arrived in 1645. In 1708, New Hampshire's Governor Dudley reported that there were 70 enslaved Africans in the county. A few black people in the colonial Portsmouth were free. Most were not. And then they also have another one over here. In 1779, a group of 20 enslaved Africans living in Portsmouth households signed a petition to the New Hampshire Council and House of Representatives asking for their freedom. Among the petitioners was Prince Whipple, owned by William Whipple, signer of the Declaration of Independence, African Burying Ground. Isn't that something? And that's Sankofa symbol. And then there's another one over here. A few more of these. In 1760, Portsmouth town records referred to this site as the Negro Burying Yard. But over time, Portsmouth grew, the African burying ground was paved over, built over, and overlooked. Documentary evidence indicates that the African burying ground was in use as early as 1705. This area that is now Chestnut Street was undeveloped parcel on the outskirts of town. African burying ground. That Mother Africa, her hand is reaching to African kidnapped and taken away, and their hands are reaching for each other. That is really powerful. African Burying Ground Memorial. Thank you so much, Roderick. I appreciate your heart and for joining. And I'm going to close this out. Do you have any questions, Roderick, before I go? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.